Have you ever been fired from your job and felt deep down that something just wasn't right about it? Like your employer crossed the line and left you feeling powerless and unsure of what to do next? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the world of wrongful termination, how to know if your firing was illegal, and what legal options you actually have if it happens to you. Imagine this. You walk into work on a Monday morning, coffee in hand, and within minutes you're sitting in your boss's office being told that your employment is over. No real explanation, just a vague statement about you not being a good fit anymore. You're shocked, upset, and wondering how you'll pay next month's rent. But what if that firing wasn't just unfair, but actually illegal? Wrongful termination is a concept that's thrown around often. But what does it really mean? Under US law, most employment is at will, which means your employer can fire you for any reason, or even no reason at all, as long as that reason isn't illegal. But when it is illegal, that's when wrongful termination comes into play. For example, if you're fired because of your race, gender, national origin, religion, age if you're over 40, disability or pregnancy status, that's considered discrimination and it's illegal under federal law. Similarly, if you're fired for reporting sexual harassment, unsafe working conditions, or fraud, things that are protected under whistleblower laws, that could also be wrongful termination. Another example is if you have a written employment contract or union agreement that guarantees you can only be fired for cause, and your employer violates that agreement by firing you without any legitimate reason. That could lead to a breach of contract lawsuit. Now, let's say you believe you were wrongfully terminated. What can you actually do about it? The first step is to gather evidence. Document everything: emails, texts, performance reviews, witness statements, anything that shows the reason for your firing was illegal or retaliatory. The stronger your documentation, the stronger your potential case. Next, consider filing a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC, if your termination involved discrimination or retaliation. This is often required before you can even file a lawsuit in federal court. The EEOC will investigate, and sometimes they'll even negotiate a settlement with your employer on your behalf. If they find that your rights were violated, they'll issue you a right to sue letter, which opens the door to filing a civil lawsuit.
If your firing didn't involve discrimination but violated public policy, like being fired for serving on jury duty or for refusing to break the law at your boss's request, you may be able to file a wrongful termination claim under state law. The procedures for this vary by state, but often you'll start by hiring an employment attorney who can draft and file the necessary complaint in state court. You might be wondering, what can you actually get out of a wrongful termination lawsuit? Potential remedies include back pay for wages you lost, front pay if you're unable to find similar employment quickly, emotional distress damages, and, in some cases, punitive damages meant to punish your employer for egregious misconduct. Sometimes, the court may even order your employer to reinstate you, although that's less common in practice because the relationship is often too strained to continue. It's also important to act quickly. There are strict deadlines called statutes of limitations for filing wrongful termination claims. For example, under federal discrimination laws, you generally need to file with the EEOC within 180 days of the termination, though some state laws extend this deadline to 300 days, if state anti-discrimination laws also apply. If you miss these deadlines, you could lose your rights permanently. One question people often ask is, what if I quit because my boss made work unbearable? Can I still sue? This is where constructive discharge comes in. If your employer made your working conditions so intolerable that any reasonable person would have felt forced to quit, the law might treat it as if you were fired. This can still give rise to a wrongful termination claim, but it can be harder to prove because you have to show just how bad the conditions were. Another common situation is retaliation. Let's say you filed a complaint about sexual harassment, and suddenly your boss starts writing you up for minor things and creates a hostile environment until you're eventually fired. That's classic retaliation and is illegal under federal law. Employers are not allowed to punish you for exercising your workplace rights. Now, you might be wondering whether you need a lawyer for a wrongful termination case. Technically, you can file a complaint on your own, but employment law is complex, and employers will almost always have their own attorneys. Having an experienced employment lawyer can make the difference between a dismissed case and a successful settlement or judgment. An attorney can evaluate your situation, calculate the potential damages you're owed, navigate filing with the EEOC or state agencies, and handle settlement negotiations or court proceedings. Many employment attorneys work on contingency, meaning they only get paid if you win or settle your case, so the financial risk to you can be minimal.
Finally, what if you're still employed and fear retaliation for reporting illegal conduct? Remember that whistleblower protections exist for a reason. If you see discrimination, harassment, or fraud in your workplace, reporting it is your right, and the law prohibits employers from retaliating against you. Document everything and consider consulting an attorney before you file your report so you can protect yourself in advance. At the end of the day, being fired unfairly can feel devastating, but it's important to know the difference between unfair and illegal. While the law doesn't guarantee guarantee job security, it does guarantee fair treatment and protects you from discrimination, retaliation, and breaches of contract. If you believe your termination crossed that line, take action. Gather your documents and consult a legal professional to discuss your options. Thanks for watching Due Process Daily. If you learned something new today, hit that like button, subscribe for more legal breakdowns that matter to your life, and drop a comment below sharing your experiences or questions about wrongful termination. Your story could help someone else facing the same battle. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and we'll see you in the next video.